Welcome to 4DetroitDudes TV. I'm your host, Ted Belowski, and this, my friends, is The Dude Show. We got a quick show tonight. I've been thinking a lot about topics we've covered, and, we talk a lot about sports on this show, and there's a lot going on in the D right now in the sports world. Obviously, you've got college football, you've got the NFL in full swing, college basketball is just starting to get cranked up with Michigan State. We've talked a lot about baseball. We're going to do some more shows coming up on the Tigers offseason. They've been making some interesting moves. But really, the two sports we've neglected so far that have just started up are the NHL and the NBA. It's kind of a tale of two teams here in the D. You've got the Red Wings on one hand and the Pistons on the other hand. The Wings are off to a great start. They're 12-3-1. They dominated last night. They've really got a lot of bright spots, obviously. Henrik Zetterberg's really developed into one of the best players in the game, and he's off to a great start offensively. Pavel Datsyuk's been playing great. Datsyuk's one of the best all-around players, I think, now in the game. He's really worked hard at both ends of the ice and has turned into a pretty dominant two-way player. And then you've got Nick Lidstrom, who obviously one of the greatest defensive players to ever play the game, but has actually gotten off to a great offensive start. He's got a lot of assists so far and has really been getting involved in the offensive end, and that's great to see. I think for the success of this team, they're going to need Nick to really play well, and so far he's doing that. And then in goal, you've got Jimmy Howard. He's 10-1 so far in the season. He's been playing really, really well, and I think he's kind of solidified that spot and hopefully can continue that success throughout this season. You got Chris Osgood as the backup if he falters, but hopefully, like I said, he can kind of keep his success rolling. The thing about the NHL that's difficult is the regular season is such a grind. It's so long. It's kind of hard to get into it at this point in the season, but I think the Wings, obviously winning 11 Stanley Cups, they've really figured out the formula, I think, for success. In the last couple years, they've struggled in executing that, but that formula is really, play hard during the regular season, put yourself in the right position going into the playoffs, but take the opportunities when you get them to rest your starters, rest your key guys so that you're healthy and that we're ready to rock when the playoffs start. So hopefully, like I said, the last couple years they've struggled with that, and I'm hoping that this year they can execute on that plan, and hopefully we'll see some great things out of them. The Pistons, on the other hand, have been so far at least a complete debacle, to be honest. They're off to a 4-8 start. They really haven't played well. They've gotten blown out in a couple games. There's a few bright spots, I would say. I think Rodney Stuckey's starting to develop into a pretty damn good player in the NBA. Charlie Villanueva has been a pleasant surprise, actually. He struggled last year a lot, but has really stepped up his game this year offensively. And on the defensive end, he's been playing great, blocking shots, getting rebounds. So that's great to see. And then really you've got Ben Gordon, who's an interesting guy in this team because right now he's the sixth man. He's coming off the bench. He's averaging almost 16 points a game, but he's not getting a ton of minutes. So I'd love to see them try to make some moves this year, get rid of maybe Rip Hamilton so that Ben Gordon can step into that starting lineup. Potentially trade Tayshaun Prince. I think both him and Rip Hamilton still have some value out there on the market, and I think there's an opportunity for the Pistons to at least maybe get some draft picks or get some younger players in return for those guys and really start building this thing for the future. I think no matter how you slice it, it's going to be a long year for the Stones. The ownership situation is just in shambles. You've got Karen Davidson, who just doesn't want the teams, trying to sell it. I know Mike Ilitch and his group, and we've all heard we're close to closing that deal. It sounds like that's starting to fall apart now. I know they've reached out to some of the other buyers who are interested and are trying to get something negotiated, but I think until that situation gets settled, it's going to be tough for this team to really do anything because, salaries have got to be in flux. Joe D doesn't really know what he's got budget-wise, what he can and can't do because there's no ownership in place, really. So, again, until that happens, I think it's going to be a long season. But again, hopefully, Joe D can make some moves, get a little bit younger, and this team can start building for the future. The only move they really made in the offseason was picking up Tracy McGrady, and he's been a debacle. He's struggled so far this year. He's injured, really hasn't contributed much, so that's probably going to end up being a bad deal for Joe D. But, it's a dysfunctional family right now. The ownership situation's got to get settled. Joe D's got to get back to trying to put the best guys on the floor, get some young guys more minutes, and just build this thing for the future. And I hope that in the next couple of years they can kind of get back to at least competing for championships or at least competing to get into the playoffs. So we'll see what happens. I wouldn't hold your breath, though, this year on the Pistons. Stay tuned to The Dude Show. We've got some more great shows coming up. We've got one next week that we're going to do. I don't want to give away too many details, but it's another company here in the D that's creating some really positive opportunities and doing a lot of really great things for the community. So stay tuned for that. I'm excited to show that to you. Tell us what you think. I'm going to keep harping on this. I know I talk about it every episode, but we want to hear from you guys. If you have things or topics or people or companies that you would love to see us cover, let us know. Send us an email. Hit us up on Facebook. We're on Twitter. You can leave posts and comments right underneath these videos on the website. We want to hear from you, so please let us know what you think. We really appreciate all the feedback we've gotten so far, and we want to just keep doing what we're doing and keep getting better. So with that, have a great night, and we'll catch you next time on The Dude Show.